Hi everyone! So it's the end of another week and it's time to talk about the book I've been reading this week. And this week it was Possession by a.s.byatt. Possession follows a guy called Roland who works for a museum, and he is very interested in the works of a poet called Ash, who's very well known and all this sort. And he comes across one of Ash's books, which has been locked away and never really opened. And inside he finds some letters which imply that he was writing to a woman other than his wife, and he goes on this mission to find out who she was. And on the way he meets a woman called Maud Bailey, who follows a woman, the life, and just as Roland does, but the life of a woman called Christabel Lamont. And it's revealed that this is the woman that Ash was writing to, and it's all about them trying to discover this relationship between these two characters, who are from these two people, should I say, from Victorian time, to discover their story and see where it goes, really. Unlock various mysteries of the past. Now, this is the first book of a.s.byatt that I've ever read, and I'm not sure if it was the right one to start off with. Now, I'm not saying that it was a bad read, because it wasn't a bad read. It was an interesting story, but for me it felt a little heavy. In regards to, you have the flow of this story. It kind of, actually, what it reminds me of? It reminded me of when I read Moby Dick a few weeks back. If you can see my video about Moby Dick, if you have a look at my channel and my videos. But it's the same kind of thing with that one, in regards to that you have this flow of story, and then all of a sudden it just halts, and then you've got like 50 odd pages of this text to go through, which in Moby Dick's case it was talking about whaling and all that lot. But in Possession you've got like 50 pages of a biography of Ash or Christabel Lamont, that a biography that had been written by a different character, decades before, and it's so you're about the movements of that character, or it's journals or letters or something. But these sections, they're about 50 to 100 pages each. They're really quite dense to go through, and you have that problem that I don't know if it was just a.s.byatt's intention, or if she just wanted to write down everything possible in these letters and the journals and the biography sections and such. But it quite a few times the sections that are relevant that you've read are literally one or a handful of sentences. There hasn't been any others. Now, I'm not saying that she should have just chucked the whole lot away and just highlighted the significant, the lines saying, oh, the character Roland came across this sentence, and then just write the sentence. I'm not saying that, because you get a lot of tone from these sections about what's going on with the various characters and day-to-day life in Victorian times, and and these character interactions. But it felt too weighty. I would, for me, I would have preferred maybe about 20 pages. I don't know. It's so because if you're going and by cutting back and forth between the flow of the story of these two professors finding out the story, and then cutting back and forth with these journal entries and letters, I did feel a bit bogged down at some points by it. But I did enjoy it. Just those sections were quite hard to read through. As to the actual structure of the book itself, I enjoyed the structure. The way in which the story is told is quite intriguing. I first knew about Possession because of the film that came out in the early 2000s, with Gwyneth Paltrow and Aaron Eckhart playing our two professors, Maud and Roland. And I loved it. I thought the film was fantastic. The linking back and forth to modern Victorian times and such. And in comparison to the film does allow that reduction in the amount of stuff that you need to know from the letters and journals and such. It reduces it to the appropriate amount, what you need. But what you lack from the film is more of an in-depth understanding of Maud and Roland, how they work together, how they bounce off each other. In the book, Roland has a girlfriend called Val. In the film, he doesn't, and Val is very interesting. How she gets really wound up if Maud is mentioned, and she has this very interesting relationship with Roland and how she approaches his career. She finds it a bit, well, I suppose you could say a bit odd, but it's his passion, is what he loves, and he also loves her. But the two of them don't go together, so he has to figure out what he really wants from the world. And also, it's quite interesting looking at Maud's relationship with like Fergus and with Roland as well, how she approaches everything. It's I feel I understand Roland and Maud a lot better, and their relationship a lot better now that I've read the book. But as I said, I prefer it if the way in which the story flowed was more like the film, where you're only really getting the information that you really need, rather than going through these really heavy text. At times when you're going through those heavy texts, I was thinking, am I actually reading a fictional book or is this non-fiction? It was just, yeah. Some sections, I just felt were pretty insane. Well, I couldn't help but it's that thing that because I know the movie really well and everything, I couldn't help but visualise the characters as the cast from the film, even though some characters look quite different from how they're described, from how they're shown in the film. Sorry, but yeah, it's very interesting. I did like the poetry that a.s. Byatt wrote in this. Sometimes she's got like pages and pages of poetry of Christabel Lamont and also Ash, and how they link to each other. But again, it's that thing where you've got like Christabel's stories. There's quite, because she has this thing about fairy stories which they don't cover in the film. But Christabel wrote a load of fairy stories, and there's one that you read a few of them, but each of them are about 15-20 pages long. So again, you're going through this break in the flow of the story, of this investigation on what happened to these two, where did their relationship go, how did it end? It's been hidden for hundreds of years. It just, yeah, I wish it had a better flow. I can understand why it won the Booker Prize, and I don't know if this is just my opinion or whatever, but if there wasn't that in-depth sections, like 50 odd pages and journals and that, if that had been reduced to what they just needed to know, I don't know if it would necessarily win the Booker Prize, because the stuff that she comes out with, a.s. Byatt, that in these sections are really interesting. How it brings to life the day-to-day life of these characters and of Victorians in general. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, because it didn't flow well for me, and I'm just speculating and being stupid by saying that. But it was, yeah, interesting week. I don't know if I would necessarily read it again. I think I'd have to be in the right mood for it, and I don't know if that maybe second time round it would be easier to read, because I know these heavy sections are going to be coming through. So maybe, and I don't know, next few years or something, I give it a go again. I'm glad I read it. I will, I'm not saying I really regret this week or anything like that. Because no, I'm not. I'm glad I read it. I just wish it had more of a flow to it and not so much weight. I think that's probably the way I describe it. So as I mentioned, there is the film version, which I've got right here. Obviously I had to get I think it's I think it was Norway or something like that I got this import from. So that does say possession, but in a different language. So this is obviously in different regions and such, the cover might be different, but here's the film. I would recommend the film. I would say, I think this is probably one of the rare occasions I say this, it might be worth giving the film a go before you give the book a go in regards to the structure, because you might find, as I did, that because you've got that weight, it's quite hard to get through. But the ending, the stuff that they find out about these characters is really, really interesting. But it's just hard that you've got this weight that you've got to slog through in order to get there. But the film version, as I said, only kind of picks out the relevant stuff that helps you get through that a hell of a lot easier. So yeah, it might be one of those rare occasions where I'm saying you might want to check out the film along with the book to see kind of how you feel about it. But then I don't know, maybe other people find it perfectly fine, the structure, and it's just me, and therefore I was it'd be just me that I would say this too. But yeah, but I knew the film before I knew the book, so but yeah, I'm going to stop there. It was a bit of a weird mixed feeling kind of thing. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the stuff that they find and the journey that they go on. It's absolutely fantastic. But the heavy sections of this book, of reading the journals and letters and all that lot, I found that really kind of tough to get through. So if you're wanting to read this, bear in mind that you're going to be having these tough sections to go through. And as I said, I'd recommend the film. All right, well, have you read Possession? If you have, I'd love to know what you thought of it. You can leave a comment below, or if you prefer, you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, entirely up to you. And I will be back soon with the announcement of what the next book in the challenge will be. All right then, bye.